So I actually do something called hypnosis and Reiki. I do together. Hypno-Reiki, I call it. I don't know why. I guess I got the 2 words in.
I love that.
So I've been doing Reiki for 20 years.
And Reiki together. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so I do that at the end of most sessions. So I'll speak for 40 minutes and then we'll do a 20-minute hypnosis. It's very gentle. And so I explain that we're speaking to your subconscious. And the subconscious role is to keep you alive, because everything that you've done in the past has kept you alive and you're still alive. So it doesn't want to learn any new skills. And it also doesn't want to do things in a different way to the way you're doing. So you get upset and then you either yell or cry or run or whatever you choose to do, or whatever you've been allowed to do. So to be able to stop that, then I speak about let's release things in your body. And funnily enough, while I'm speaking in hypnosis, my hands start doing Reiki. So it's just something that happens together. But the two together seem to work really well. And then I always finish the session leaving them lying down and resting in that space for as long as they can. Grab their hand, take them outside. We're doing 10-star jumps. When you do 10-star jumps and look at the roof, you actually have to be happy. It releases dopamine. That's all you need. So rather than watching your child have a tantrum because you took the screen off them, grab their hand, throw them out in the grass, jump up and down with them, and come on, we're doing the star jumps, quick, quick, quick. If you do the star jumps, we might get the screen back tomorrow. If we don't, we won't. Next thing you know, they're doing star jumps. So like I was saying, the sales job, you've got to get them excited about doing the things that you need them to do and not just what they want to do.
I love that. That is so awesome, because that kind of covers also about deferring reward and also getting them into their physical body. Hey, welcome to Terri Messenger's Genius Zone. And you know what? I love bringing gifted, talented coaches, healers, and leaders onto the show every week, because I know that makes this podcast extremely valuable. So here's the thing. Have you got children? Now, perhaps you were raised in your own family, but if you've got kids, you're raising them, or perhaps you're like me, you're on the other side of it, but you might be even wondering and curious if you're like me, because after speaking to this amazing woman who is a family revolutionist, because she changes the shape of the family and the dynamics, she has written a book called Who Put the Kids in Charge? Don't you just love that? And as an author of Who Put the Kids in Charge, this lady has many of her own life experiences. She's seen what happens to kids when you do put them in charge, when you're too gentle. She also knows what it's like to be raised by a mother who suffered depression. And maybe Sharon herself was really looking for those leadership skills. Well, stand by, get yourself your favorite drink, because you are about to find out exactly what Sharon believes is all about raising resilient and great kids, and being able to do this in a way that is absolutely fair, firm, and fun. So with no further ado, here we have the beautiful Sharon Cullington. Hello, Sharon. How are you?
Hello, Terri. Hello, everyone. I'm great. Thank you. And you?
I am going very, very well. And whereabouts are you?
I'm in Pearl Beach on the coast, the central coast of New South Wales. It's beautiful.
Oh, yes, it sounds really just awesome. And me being just on the other side in Perth, Australia, we're supposed to be in autumn at the moment, but it's feeling like summer. So there you are. So Sharon, you know, I always know that when someone is really passionate about something, it's because they themselves have experienced firsthand what's on the other side. Now, you're all about empowering parents and being on that journey. You know, you're a hard-working woman, but you've also known what it's like to being a hard-working mother and losing everything. So that must have been a really big reality check. And I always say this is where pain turns to power. So talk me through your 5 boutiques and obviously how you were bringing home the bread and bacon, and how your husband, I guess, may have been having a lot of time on his hands, what happened as a result, and also your mothering because you only got to see your kids for 2 hours a day.
Yes, thank you. That was a turning point for my parenting, definitely, that we had to get a divorce and sell up everything. It was a big wake-up call for me because I definitely had been spoiling my children, and because I only had that 2 hours a day, I would see them for an hour in the morning and an hour before bed at night. And of course, I just wanted to see a happy face, and I wanted them to feel loved and adored by their mum, who wasn't there for so many things, like their first steps or, you know, stringing their first sentences together. You know, they'd either be with a nanny or at daycare. So I really, really missed them. And so when I was with them, whatever they wanted, I made sure they had. So I'd get home and they'd want to have a bath with me. Okay, we'd all have a bath together. And I know it sounds really weird, but there'd be 4 of us. We had a big triangle bath, so, you know, there's plenty of room. And that's out came the crayons and the jokes, and, you know, we'd be laughing and having fun. And then I'd take them to bed, and they'd go to sleep in my bed, and I'd sneak out and leave them there. And, you know, in the morning, it's, you know, food off my plate, you know, whatever they wanted. Mummy, walk us down.
Do you think there's a sort of a compensation going on there? Like, I know that when there's guilt, that may happen, and this is a big thing with parents, you know, that if they work, and even if they're really successful and they've got so much to offer their kids as a result, there can be that compensation that goes on. Do you think that that was what was going on for you?
Absolutely. And I mean, as a parent, guilt just seems to come with the program, doesn't it? It doesn't matter if you're home with them all day or whether you're leaving them all day. It's just, or, you know, was I too firm, or did I, you know, miss that opportunity to have a connection, and am I jumping to conclusion too quickly? It just goes on. But, you know, it doesn't help anybody, because there's so much guilt now from all of the ways we found out we can be damaging our children that if you're not doing it, it means you don't care.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's causing a lot of anxiety for the children and the parents. So we have to go, nobody's ever been a perfect parent.
No,
you know,
absolutely not. And I think one of the things that a lot of parents listening into this podcast are going to come to know is that children are a lot more resilient than we may give credit for. But obviously, you know, as a hardworking mother with 5 boutiques, that's pretty awesome, Sharon. How did you know when things went really pear-shaped, when you had to sell the house? Did you find out what was going on, and how did that impact your family?
Yes, people tried to warn me about a lot of things over a period of time, but if we're not awake and we're just on autopilot, which a lot of working mums are, you miss a lot. And I think somehow your brain doesn't want to hang on to any more than it has to. And so we tend to only see the things that we want to see. And that's one of the first mistakes that we make. Like, if we don't wake up and see what's happening. And a mum from the school was trying to tell me.
What was she saying to you?
Well, I was trying to get my 6-year-old down to kindy and my son up to give him a feed, and I'm running up, and she was waiting for me at the top of the driveway. She was one of the really concerned mums that, wrote beautiful, it was a Steiner school, she wrote all the beautiful messages for everyone, and she had a big heart. She was lovely. Her name was Karen. So she said to me, Sharon, I said, I'm sorry, I've got to feed the baby, get to work. She said, yeah, I know, but I'm just wondering, do you ever stop to smell the roses? And if you're a busy rushing mother and someone's talking about roses, I just looked at her. I thought, I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, ponder things. That was my first gift, to wake up and start noticing what was going on, which I ignored.
And are you able to share anything about that, or,
It's unnecessary. The story was that, there was a lot of disrespect going on, and somebody not being honest, not me. So you can put up with it. And then in the end, I just said, look, I'm starting to look like the idiot now. So unfortunately, we're going to separate. And, he was actually quite a lovely dad. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. He didn't swear. He called them darling. And towards the end, I was wondering, I wonder if he knows their names. It's just always darling this and darling. But it was a lovely, gentle way for children to grow up. And then, they had the mum that was, full of beans, and okay, you've got to do this, we're going to have 2 stories, you're going to go to bed, and they knew that if I said something with my firm voice, they would always listen. I didn't hear it very often, because I just wanted them to feel loved and adored and spoilt a little bit, And
I guess finances were very, very good, for you until they weren't. And I guess that financial disrespect that occurred kind of maybe plummeted things. But as a result, I always say that when things do plummet, quite often that's when we come to life. We kind of develop our power. We sort of develop that character that's within us. So, here you were, a mum that was giving everything to your kids, compensating, as I was saying, and just making sure they had everything, to suddenly being a single mother, where obviously that's when, you had to kind of really raise them in a completely different way. And we'll definitely touch on that. But I also want to just give a little bit of context about your upbringing, your own upbringing. You say that you were brought up, and back in those days, when, we know it now as postnatal depression. What was it known as with your mother, and what she was suffering back in those days?
Yes, well, it was an unbelievable story for today, but not so unusual in those days, that she was 18 when I was born and already had a baby. So unfortunately, my father took off. It was all too much for him. And his mother said he had to marry the girl. She did. He married the girl and then took off. So she was 18 with 2 babies, and there was no social security in those days. And she was a bit of a spoilt child herself. And so when things were really tough, she just didn't know what to do, and she was depressed. They used to call it hysteria. So the first time she went to see a doctor, these are the stories I heard down the track, they told her to start smoking because the smoking would calm her down. And then the next time she went back, when the smoking didn't really work, they said, we have this new wonder drug. We're advertising it as the drug you didn't know you needed to have, called Valium, and we suggest you have 1 or 2 if you need it. So basically, my brother and I, as very small children, were left to our own defences. And Mum was just in bed, zonked off her face and feeling depressed and sad. Now, the reason she was like that is, like I said, that she was quite spoiled. Now, if she'd had different parents that had taught her some resilience and the ability to bounce back and, not wallow in self-pity, then, we probably would have had a different sort of a childhood. But my brother and I took to the streets really early. We grew up in Balmain. It was a very poor suburb back in the 50s. And we hung out with street kids, and we'd be in and out of people's houses we didn't know, looking for food. We have a chat outside the pubs with the local gangsters, and we usually most days find ourselves down at the wharf eating sandwiches from the fishermen, who were very kind and generous. But the funny thing about it all, so we're in nappies basically, that we didn't die. We learned a lot of survival skills, and I wouldn't recommend it. But I think that today we treat our children, our small children and our teenagers, as if they're unable to cope. But I really honestly believe more than ever that as a mother, we need to see the areas that our children are needing help in. So if they're full of joy and happy kids and singing and all of that, we need to help them learn how to sit quietly and listen when someone speaks to them. And so the opposite to what they're good at, rather than increasing the things that they're naturally good at, we need to go the opposite to that and praise them for those things, not for the things they're good at. So we
very interesting point. That's very interesting, because I know that tends to be something that I would have thought. I'm not a family therapist, so this is not my gig. And I was a person who actually did suffer from postnatal depression after my third child, and a lot of that happened as a result of just needing more than, motherhood was a very innate thing that came to me very naturally. So I needed more. I needed to be that person that was on the go and on the move. But I didn't know this, because, as you know, a lot of the problems of today with depression is the lack of awareness. We don't know why we are struggling with what we're struggling at. And obviously, when it comes to raising kids, it's like, oh, well, if they've got that deficit, if they're struggling in that way, let's just focus in on their gifts and their talents and kind of expand that. But then when I think about it, only because I'm speaking to you about it now, what that's doing is it's making them very hyper-focused on that. But then how does that socially and, worldly, in their life, help them if they don't have any resources that actually can focus on that? So you actually do recommend that they do start working on their weaknesses, do you?
Absolutely. And so I've invented this thing called the Golden Triangle, and it starts off with waking up. So we've got to observe our children on a daily basis, really, and make it like a game and make it fun. None of this has to be serious. Like, serious and kids don't go together. So that's why you've got to save serious for when we're needing them to smarten up a little bit. But every day, you always try and touch them, smile when you look at them, make them feel loved and appreciated, and they'll want to listen to what you've got to say. They really will. But with fun, you've got to say, all right, well, you're not very good at sitting still. I had a little boy yesterday. He just cannot sit still. So we played games around sitting still. So I said, how long can you sit still for? And he's got this bottle going here, and he's doing it, and he's tapping it. And so his mother's had him tested for autism, and he probably will be diagnosed with something. But I have a very strong belief from experience that mothers can fix nearly everything. And even if you have a child that has, we're all on the spectrum anyway of everything, aren't we? That none of us are really outside anywhere. But, if it's not so severe that, your child just can't listen or try. But if you've got a child that can listen when you've got a chocolate in your hand, and if you sit still, I'll be able to give you this chocolate. So let's see how long you can sit still for. you'll find that wiggly child sitting still for over a minute. Nothing you said before that chocolate was going to work. So I
Almost
honestly
like deferred sort of gratitude, or deferred results. And I actually remember watching with my initial husband, watching this show on TV, and they talked about, deferring children's rewards and actually finding out where your kids do sit, whether they're going to grow up and become an entrepreneur or whatever that was going to be. And what they did, the exercise that they gave, was to put a child in front of chocolate and ask them to sit there in front of it and not eat it. And, even if you take a bit of that chocolate and eat it yourself, see what they do and see if you can actually get them to refrain. Well, my husband and I at the time went and did this, only my grandmother had made this beautiful big chocolate dollhouse. So we sit there eating it. My daughter sits there and she patiently waits, but then she starts laughing and pointing and going, oh, look, bugs. And of course we look down, and because it had been sitting there for so long. So here's us eating the chocolate with the bugs and her having the last laugh.
What a great lesson for her in life. Patience is rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So I love that golden triangle. So wake up, slow down, take charge. So you say becoming aware of your role as the family leader is, one of the most vital imperative points. And I wished I had heard that when I was raising 3 children. And I was probably that woman you wrote the book around, who gave the kids, who made them the boss.
The kids in charge.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. What do you do with a mother like myself, who perhaps may have brought out the leadership skills in my kids very well?
So if we can go back to the golden triangle, so if you do these 3 things, then you start to understand how the process works. So it's wake up, notice what's going on, see where you need to step in and where you need to let things slide. And the next corner of the triangle is slow down. And within slow down is also self-care. And don't get into I'm busy. I think in our society now, if anyone says to you, oh, hi, how are you? 50% of the time people go say, oh, busy, I'm busy, we're all busy, but really you don't have to be busy. I think the more you can slow down and more you can remove things that are unnecessary in your life, the happier you are as a family, because we all need rest time and we all need peace, and children more than anything need cuddles and touch and, thrown up in the air and just physical stuff. When you're being with them, being physical, they're not so jittery at the table, or they're not so wanting to do things. They know that the playtime is then and it's coming again later on. And so right now, if mum's saying, I feel like in a family, like I had to raise mine as a single mother, and I had to get really smart and very organized. But if there's a family where there's a beautiful dad and a beautiful mom and his beautiful children, you treat it like it's a hierarchy. Like I like to think of the mum is like the queen of the home. She's revered. What she says goes. She's so beautiful to us and generous and kind. And where do they get that from? From every time you do the smallest thing, say, thank you, mummy, ta, mummy. Even a 6-month-old baby can say ta when you give them their rattle. They keep dropping with ta, mummy, ta. It's not for the manners side of it. It's for the fact that a child can start to understand how much you, the mum, do for them every single day, morning, noon, and night, throughout the night. So nobody is going to appreciate you as much as your child when you're teaching them. It's not from guilt or I hate doing it. I love doing it. And I'm doing it because it's you and you're amazing, and you just have this beautiful energy going in the family. So the mother's the queen. The dad's like the lion, like he's there to protect the family. And don't speak to your mother like that. And I've heard mum say, oh, no, we don't speak like that anymore. But we do. We need children to know Dad's not going to let us be rude to Mum.
Yeah.
It's really important that when Dad says it, we're going to listen.
Yeah, like they say that the man is the head of the house, but the wife is the neck. So she kind of turns she's got that part of leadership where she's actually making things happen. But I love also that you talked about that slowing down. And, as an NLP trainer, I know that when we get into our physical body, that's why I do exercises with coaches before we start the show. And I really focus in on the breath and the physicality, because when you're in your body, you're kind of letting go of all that noise in your head. And, we say that NLP presupposition, which is, lose your mind and come to your senses. But it also means, that physical touch, picking up the kids. I carry my grandson on my back, so we get around and he's on my back. And now I've got a granddaughter, so she's on my front. So I'm that person. But
moms can do anything.
Yes, I cannot agree more that slowing down, sometimes you've got to slow down to speed up. So, yeah.
Exactly. So I've been doing a little bit of meditation, and this group that I'm doing it with, we do minis. And a mini is just 2 minutes, when between 2 and 10, whatever you've got. But I hold space for you for 2 minutes, and you hold space for me for 2 minutes. So in that 5 minutes, you're resetting your nervous system, you're taking the breaths, and then you're ready to move on. And you can do it by yourself. You can go and sit under a tree and do it for 10 minutes under a tree, if you can get out in nature, which is so much better than being inside all the time. But the most important thing is to get off screens, because a child can easily get addicted to a screen. And between 1 and 7, we all know that our formative years, when everything that happens in your life is being programmed and will affect everything else in your life. And so if you're living a screen life and you're looking at quick flashes going on and off all the time, it doesn't matter what the child is watching. Before 7, whatever they're watching, it's affecting their brain development. So maybe you could sit together for a 5-minute show watching something together and talking about some gentle something that you could watch. But as far as screens and developing brains go, they just don't work together, and we really need to be aware of that. But if your child asks for a screen, say, okay, grab their hand, take them outside. We're doing 10 star jumps. When you do 10 star jumps and look at the roof, you actually have to be happy. It releases dopamine. That's all you need. So rather than watching your child have a tantrum because you took the screen off them, grab their hand, throw them out in the grass, jump up and down with them, and come on, we're doing the star jumps, quick, quick, quick. If you do the star jumps, we might get the screen back tomorrow. If we don't, we won't. Next thing you know, they're doing star jumps. So like I was saying, the sales job, you've got to get them excited about doing the things that you need them to do, and not just what they want to do.
I love that. That is so awesome, because that kind of covers also about deferring reward and also getting them into their physical body and distracting them from going into that woe is me, that sulk, that tantrum. And of course, I don't deal with little children. It's, that's they're the ones that I haven't worked with in clinic, but I have often worked with teenagers and young adults. And one of the biggest issues, and I find there was one teenage girl, and this is just recently actually, she finds it very difficult to regulate her nervous system. And I know that you're kind of dealing, so obviously as a child, there was probably something that happened in her childhood, or a lack of skills that, didn't perhaps give her the ability to learn how to self-regulate. But of course, with what I'm doing, and I do want to pick your brains on the practical part of what you can offer here, but the work that I'm doing is I'm not helping her to learn self-regulating skills. What I'm doing is I'm erasing a lot of her trauma. I'm erasing a lot of those elements and bad habits that she, once had. And that's great, because that puts her into a much more freer kind of way, because she can move forward without being triggered by everything that's in her past, like a reset. But from a practical point of view, what would I say to her? She needs to learn still, even if she has set free a lot of trauma. What would you say to a teenage girl or a teenage boy, or even a young or even an old adult that needs to learn self-regulating skills?
Well, the first thing I do is take it off a screen and just say, like, the screen is doing this to you. So she might be a sensitive child that, she's feeling like the rest of the world and school is a bit brutal, and she's not coping because school is a bit brutal often. So I actually do something called hypnosis and Reiki. I do together. Hypno-Reiki, I call it. I don't know why. I guess I got the two words in.
I love that.
So I've been doing Reiki for 20 years.
And Reiki together. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so I do that at the end of most sessions. So I'll speak for 40 minutes and then we'll do a 20-minute hypnosis. It's very gentle. And so I explain that we're speaking to your subconscious. And the subconscious role is to keep you alive, because everything that you've done in the past has kept you alive and you're still alive. So it doesn't want to learn any new skills. And it also doesn't want to do things in a different way to the way you're doing. So you get upset and then you either yell or cry or run or whatever you choose to do, or whatever you've been allowed to do. So to be able to stop that, then I speak about let's release things in your body. And funnily enough, while I'm speaking in hypnosis, my hands start doing Reiki. So it's just something that happens together. But the two together seem to work really well. And then I always finish the session leaving them lying down and resting in that space for as long as they can. But before I go, I ask if there's any questions and how are you feeling. And they just feel lovely. And it's just been 20 minutes of speaking to their subconscious, because their subconscious, if you play games with it and you confuse it a little bit, it can let new things slide in and old things slide out. So that poor darling girl, what she first of all needs to understand is she does not have to keep feeling dysregulated, because you can get you can regulate yourself with 3 deep breaths, hold them in through your nose and out through your mouth. That can reset your nervous system. You can go outside, take your shoes off, run around in the grass and run around, do something physical and take a deep breath when you come back and you'll feel better. Just getting off the screens, getting into nature and just talking to yourself, but not allowing yourself to be out of control. Because you can control yourself once you choose to, once you decide that's what you're going to do. And if you need some help, ask your mum. Mum, I need some help with some self-control. Can you please help me? I need you to just sit with me and breathe with me and, and do this 5-minute meditation with me and reset me so I'm not, driving myself crazy. But I mean, the star jumps are gold. I love the star jumps. My children did 1 million of them, so much so. My son is now living in Portugal and he went to do some dance classes and they were doing something that looked like star jumps and he's going, I've done enough for my whole life, thank you. And he didn't go back to dancing, so maybe it's not.
That's so good. Yeah.
But they are like magic. But you help your child. So I was with a 5-year-old yesterday and I was with him when he was 3, and the first star jumps I was teaching him, his hands were going everywhere. He's a perfectionist at them now. Like, he gets stiff and he's really proud of himself, and that's the thing we're teaching our children, not how to cave into your emotions, but just to overcome them as quickly as you can so that you can get physically happy and start enjoying more life.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to definitely show her this podcast so she can have a listen to it. And I'm really hearing again, get into your body, get into nature, take deep breaths, because breath work is just so underestimated, and it is so incredible what a person can achieve just by learning how to breathe. And they say that, when you're breathing from that place and space where, you're opening up your diaphragm and you're taking those great, big, beautiful, long breaths in through your nose, you're holding that at the top and just letting it all out and breathing out and sighing it even longer than you breathe in. And you just repeating that.
That, and it works every time. But apparently the sigh, the sound of the sigh, is very important, as is humming.
Yes.
And so if you're feeling like you're dysregulating yourself, you can just go to the bathroom and just hum your favorite song, or for 10 seconds, just humming. The vibration going through your body resets you.
Exactly. Like everybody at home or listening onto this podcast, you can even bring your lips together and go, and what you will feel, apart from that little tingle, on your mouth, but the vibration and the energy. That's why, Wayne Dyer always did the and a lot of those, but it's not just about being woo-woo or of some spiritual, culture, but it's about what it brings to your body and how it can actually really raise the frequency and the energy. So what gold you're giving right here, Sharon. Now, I'm going to just go through, because I feel like, for people out there that would like a real glimpse of parenting at, laser focused and laser speed, we're going to go quickly through Sharon's chapters. And also, this is the program, what Sharon is offering. And I know, Sharon, I love the work you do. You bring, husbands and wives together, or mothers and fathers together, and you see them individually, and then you bring them together, which I know when I've had to deal with parents with drug-addicted kids, I've done that. I've seen them separately to find out each side of the story, and then I bring them in together, and it's really got to be a united.
Yes.
Yeah. Why is it so important? Because I hear what you also said to me backstage about one client, because I can relate to this. They were the disciplinary, while the husband was the fun guy. But how that impacted their family unit. Why is it so important for both parents to be on the same page, and giving the mother a bit of a chance to be that fun person as well as being firm? But if one's obviously gone completely polar opposite direction, then the poor mother, what chance does she have?
Exactly. Yeah. So she feels like she's the only one giving discipline. I think that we've all been disappointed with the gentle parenting style that we've been told is going to stop our children from being traumatized. But you'll find that 60% of 5-year-olds today, I've read the statistics, are either on medication or seeing a therapist. 60% of 5-year-olds. So the mother has become so gentle with the child that when the child has come up with an issue, the mother hasn't been firm enough to be able to say, because she doesn't want to traumatize them, and maybe her parents were too firm with her, so she's just saying, oh, all right, darling, I think we'll go and see a therapist, or we'll go and see what's going on for you. And look, my daughter is a psychologist, and she's being a counselor, and like we're very into education, my children, but you don't need therapy for everything. You need a strong mum.
Yeah.
You need a mother that notices. You need a mother that can see there's something's changed and I'm going to address it. And it's not a matter of bullying your kids. So say you've got a teenager, say you've got a 13 or 14-year-old, and all of a sudden she doesn't want to talk to you. Or all of a sudden you'll see that she's locked herself in her room more, or she's being extra rude to a little brother or something like that. We notice. That's the first thing. Wake up and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And then take some time out of your busy schedule. Get rid of your busy schedule. Get back into let's just enjoy the family. And slow down and think, okay, darling, I can see something's going on for you. What do you mean? Nothing. No, I mean, I can see. I'm your mother. I know there's something going on for you. And this is where we take charge. Taking charge is the third part of the triangle. It's not about being bossy boots and telling them what they've got to do and being mean or hitting or yelling or any of that. Taking charge is seeing there's a problem and realising I need to do something about it. So you've noticed your daughter's unhappy. You've sat her down. She's trying to reject you. But when you look into her eyes and you touch her on her leg or wherever she'll let you touch her and just say, I don't care what is going on for you. Whatever it is, I'm here for you. Together, we can fix anything. Yeah. And you know that we can. So
really bringing that unity together and making them feel held and supported.
And talk to their heart. And I would say to my son, this is probably not very kosher, but I would say, I don't care if you murder someone, I'm on your side. So you tell me what's going on. And funnily enough,
what are they thinking? Like this is what I guess in the field of work that I'm doing, you sort of taught that if somebody is doing some absurd behaviours anyway, you've got to really get underneath their value system and be able to see it from their perspective and say, well, what is it that they're believing? What story are they telling themselves to warrant them to be doing what they're doing? But, you know, what an incredible teacher you are. In fact, you're such a great teacher, Sharon, that you have written this book, this incredible book that I would have loved to have read when I was, you know, a young woman who put the kids in charge. And it's an acronym. Do you want to just tell us firstly, what's the acronym? What is the full acronym?
Thank you. So the book's written in 3 sections, and the first one is calm, because you need to be a calm parent. So that means even when your child has been doing something that seems to their behaviours, you do it with a calm voice, but a firm voice. So never hysteria, never saying things that sound like you've lost the plot. So it doesn't matter how much it's upset you. You've got to be able to be the firm, calm, loving leader. So the first part of the book is calm. So that is about communication, paying attention, being a great leader, and then managing everything that's going on in the family. So that's the biggest chapter. The lunches, the sports uniforms, the appointments you've got to get to, the food, the who's washing up, the socks that are odd. You know, it's so much work. So when you're calm leader managing everything, you get the team on board. So that's the third section, which is team. So you're working together, and the children have to trust you. They have to believe that what you say you mean. So if you say, no, you can't go to Mary's place because it's going to be dark in half an hour and I want you to help me with dinner. And they go, oh, but blah, 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 blah. And you go, oh, God, all right. And then you might say a permissive statement, which is, oh, well, she hasn't been out for a few days, or something like that makes you feel better. But what she has just learned is when I put pressure on Mum, what she says doesn't actually mean anything. So the next day she'll ask again, and this time you'll say no. And so you think, oh, I better stick to my no now, because the last time I caved into my no. And she's putting, oh, yeah, but Mum, blah, blah, blah. And then you're going, no, darling, we've got to get dinner. I need you to help. And then so what is she going to naturally do, whether she's a toddler or a teenager? She's going to put more pressure on you. The tears might come down and the stories will come out. And so then you cave in again. Now, what if you had a relationship that when you said to them, no, sorry, darling, I wish I could let you go. How about tomorrow? We had this conversation earlier and you can go and do it tomorrow. Give them hope. Give them something to look forward to. But for now, it's no. So I need you to go and get the carrots out and the potatoes and start peeling everything and put them in a pot of water for me. I'll finish what I'm doing on my computer here, and then I'll come and cook us a yummy dinner, darling. And you know what she'll say?
I'm hearing is, let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Always, every time. And don't get hysterical, because if you get hysterical, then they get hysterical. So if hysteria isn't part of your family dynamics, then when they start getting hysterical, you can go, oh my God, what are you doing? And give them a little bit of shame. It's okay for a child to feel like what I'm doing is not acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. And with this gentle parenting, it's let them feel their feelings and just hold them through it. And, you know, you better let them do it in the supermarket or in the cafe where people are trying to have a little break, or, you know, other places that are annoying people. That's okay, because they must feel their feelings. No, they don't even know what their feelings are if they're a toddler or a 3 or a 4-year-old. You know, tell them, darling, you're upset now, but we'll get better later. If they know everything you say you mean, and that you're strong enough to stick to your no even under pressure, they stop pressuring you and they start adoring you, because they know you'll be fun, you'll be fair, and you'll be firm when you have to. That's how we live.
Yeah, and look, I can also understand as well that if you are going to be one of those parents, and I do, you know, totally give a lot of admiration for the parent that loves to let the children just feel their feels. And I feel like there is a time and a place for that to happen so that they're not emotionally suppressed. But I love what you've said about, you know, if they're in the shopping centre, if you're going to let your child feel their feels in the middle of the shopping centre, then they might end up doing that as an adult. So I guess that's probably a good way to teach some stoicism. And what was the last acronym?
Section. So the other thing that you were just saying as well, and if you let your child hit you at any age, a 1-year-old whack you or lean into you and whinge on top of you, that's not how a queen lives. You know, there's no reason for you to be hitting me like this. So just sit there and then just stare at them and just shake your head and be looking like, I don't know what I'm going to tell your father, you know, and let them think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Yes. You know, sending them to their room is nothing. You know, boundaries are nothing. My children were allowed to do everything as long as it wasn't dangerous. And if it was something I didn't want them to do, because they knew I wanted them to have a great life and have lots of fun, if I said no, they knew there was a reason. They didn't even want to know what the reason was. They just, oh, Mum said no. Okay, well, it must mean no for some reason. Do you know, it just makes life easier. And the times that you're not negotiating, you're actually enjoying with your children.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I believe that you've got to have that that sort of integrity, if you like, rather than shutting them away in their bedroom, and they might end up forgetting why they were even put in their bedroom in the first place. But sort of being with them and sort of mirroring to them a little bit too, sort of showing them this is not right. I feel that than somebody who is just going, go to your bedroom, and then with all this ADHD,
as if they're going to,
and then they forget why they were put in their bedroom anyway.
Exactly.
But we haven't got that much time left, so I just
want to do the third section then is seeing the family as a team. So the T is for trust. They need to trust you. Enjoyment is the most important thing. Why did you have children? To have a great life and have fun. Appreciation for who they are and what they contribute, and for them to appreciate who you are and what you contribute towards them as well. Have conversations around that. And the last one is mindfulness. So teaching children how to think about others, what's somebody else going through. It's not all just about me. There's a whole world around us, and we need to consider others. So I just want to say one thing quickly. So I did study early childhood when I first started becoming a parenting coach. And so I learned a little bit about child psychology there. But I've done a lot of work. I'm a constant learner. Like, I've done the fire walk 6 times with Tony Robbins. Like, I love learning new ways of thinking, and this has all been developed and evolved from my 20 years working professionally as a nanny and a night nurse and a coach. But I learned a hell of a lot being a mother for the first 20 years of that as well. So I brought the two together to create this book and to create role model parenting, which comes from the mother controlling her emotions and learning to have her feelings in a state that she can express them nicely to the children, so that they learn to do the same back to you and anyone else that they're having a conversation with.
That's amazing. And can I ask you, did you do the fire walk?
6 times.
Wow. Did you get your feet burnt?
Only when I went to the fire walk on the second time, and I decided to do the walk on the same night, not in state, and burnt my feet the whole way down. So I learnt you can only do that once, and it is about getting yourself in state. But isn't that what life is about? Getting yourself in state and not being a victim to your emotions because you feel a bit sad about something. The sooner you get over it, the faster you can start having fun again, is my point.
Look, that's very fascinating. You know, I have heard that a lot of people have got their feet burnt, and I can definitely understand how that would be very, very painful if that happened. But it's also very interesting that a person can put their mind into such an incredible state that they can walk across fire and literally not get burnt at all. I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal.
Proof of self-control, how that in our mind is controlling our lives.
Absolutely. So with everything you've just said, I mean, what an ultimate foundation of family leadership. I love that, because I feel like you've also put in there, like, the last chapter is on love. And I believe that love covers over everything, and love is just so important. And can you tell us why that is so important for, you know, parents to demonstrate that to their children?
I have not met one parent in 40 years of raising kids that didn't absolutely love and adore her children. And it's important to love and adore your children. But mums say, I would die for them every day. But will you live for them? Will you live in a way that helps them to understand how to have a great life, whether you're in it or not? To help them understand that the world is their oyster, that they need to get along with a lot of different people. They need to be resilient. There's a lot of things. So in the love are more lessons. Yes. But it all comes from a place in your heart that they know they never have to go through anything alone. And my children all live in different countries in the world. But if somebody needs someone, everyone's there. You know, like we just turn up. And if someone needs money, people give money. If someone needs anything, we're there for each other. And I think the way the world's gone a little bit crazy, I think we need to have a community around us. And what's more important than your immediate family as a community?
Oh, 100%. And, you know, I love all of those, you know, chapters that you've written about, and you've covered so much, and there's so much more even again. So I would love to have you on the show once again. And, you know, but communication, attention, leadership, management, trust, enjoyment, appreciation, mindfulness, boundaries. Well, that's a big one right there, right? So awareness, learning, and love. Now, before we conclude, I would like to ask you, which one of those chapters would you specifically like to speak to that parent listening to this show about at the moment? Is there something that's really resonating, or something that you found is just a very fundamentally important part of their parenting? I know all of them are, but yes. Which one will speak on right now?
Well, we've already said everybody loves their children, so you know that's a given. But the communication is the thing that, when I talk about waking up and slowing down and taking charge, it's all about the communication and the way you speak to children. but it has to be the way they need you to speak to them, that they can hear you properly. So it's not, this is just how I talk, hurry up, get your shoes on, hurry. No. Oh, darling, please, mummy needs you. No, listen to your child and notice how they respond to you and look into their eyes. And if you're retraining a child that is actually needing some untraining before the new training, then you will have to find your firm voice. Your communication will have to be, not because I said so, but your mother's speaking to you. It's time for you to get up, turn the television off, grab your bag, get your lunch out of the fridge, stand at the door, and I'll be there in 2 minutes, okay? And they're going to go, oh, okay, Mum. Oh, she's so much better. You haven't got your bag yet? Why do I have to keep yelling at you? I did all of that, don't worry, but I have learnt since then. And I worked with hundreds of children. They all respond to being treated like intelligent beings from love and joy. They love it.
That is quite ironic, actually. Remember, your kids are resilient, and give them that gift of intelligence to allow them to raise up and draw their character. And I feel that is, really an overarching element of what you haven't even mentioned, but that's what I'm hearing, that you're really drawing the character of children. And you're raising them to be very, very strong characters and fantastic little human beings. And also being aware that there are no perfect parents, as you said in the beginning. There's always going to be the guilt. There's always going to be that parent that feels like they haven't done enough. And I think on that, there's always the part that because I'm speaking into the adults' lives, that were the broken children. And it's about, well, your parents gave the best of what they knew how to at that time. They didn't.
Also, can we forgive them?
Yeah, absolutely.
They didn't know a better way, or they would have done a better way.
Absolutely. And, nobody ever raised their kids, even if they were the worst parent on the planet, and set out to deliberately be that kind of a person. So, one of the biggest things that I'm working with adults is actually recognizing that they were doing the best thing. And like you just said, Sharon, I'm so glad you said it, taking them back so that they can remember that their parent was also a small child one day. And at that level, it somehow helps them to forgive, seeing their parent as this innocent little child. Because quite often, whatever that parent couldn't give, they didn't have it to give. My husband always says, you cannot give away anything you haven't got. So I'd love to conclude with this last question. And this is a question I love to ask all the incredible people that come onto this show. And that is that if you get off the show and your client that is praying for your assistance may be listening now, in 5 years, in 5 months, what would you like to say to them? What would you say to that person who's really praying for a revolutionary family therapist or coach like yourself?
First of all, I have my book on a PDF copy, and I'd be happy to send it. If somebody lets me know they'd like a copy of the book, I'd be really happy to send them a book for free. And tomorrow's another day. So as you go to sleep tonight, think about things you could have done differently. Maybe start journaling, get a book and write down the things that you'd like to see changed in yourself and in your child. And quite frankly, if anybody wants to get on my website, SharonCullington.com, I don't know if I mentioned my parenting style is called role model parenting, and it's about, being the role model your children need to see and learn to. They're watching.
That has been very, very obvious right the way through, that role model parent, even though you didn't say it, but you certainly emulated it through every conversation that you're speaking about, being that role model parent.
Yeah, it's so important. So any mother that gets onto my website, SharonCullington.com or rolemodelparenting.com, they can get on and find me and book in a call, and I will speak to you for as long as you would like me to speak to you and sort out your problems right there on that phone call. So come with a pen and paper in hand, and then, I'll give you some exercises to try. And well, we don't say try. We try to say to do.
Yes, trying is not a good word in neuro-linguistic programming, because if I say I tried to open the door, what would that tell you? I didn't open it, but I'm going to open that door. It's going to open. And opportunities are going to fly through to you and everybody listening to this. Well, that is absolutely incredible. Thank you so very much.
But probably one more thing. I'd just like to say, I want to make a difference in other people's lives. And so anybody that contacts me, I want to help you. So don't be shy to ring if you have no money. It doesn't matter. I'm actually at the moment, I've just put in a grant application to get my book into prison cells for incarcerated mums and dads to be able to, when they're released, to be able to parent differently to the way their parents did. So, and the other thing with your parents, always forgive them 100%. You might have to do a forgiveness ceremony, half a dozen times, but then finally forgive them, because nobody wants to be a bad person or do the wrong thing, do they? They so much pent up, they just didn't know how to do it. But you tomorrow can wake up and make up for all of that just with a decision.
Yes, and Sharon's going to be on Edge Radio very, very soon, and maybe we can open up on the incarcerated parent. I know that the radio man is very much about freedom of speech, so he would love that. Also, for those of you who are looking out to really connect with Sharon's incredible generosity, we are going to put all the links in the show notes below. So make sure you contact this wonderful woman who is making an offer there. I'm not sure how long that's going to last for, but if I were you, I'd jump on that pretty quickly. Sharon, thank you so very much. It's been absolutely a pleasure. And all I can say is, from the bottom of my heart, I wished that I had have met you 25 years ago.
Well, look, I have no doubt. I've only spoken to you 2 or 3 times. I have no doubt you were a beautiful mother. So you didn't need my help back then. I'm sure of it. I'm sure you have a beautiful relationship with your children and everything was great. So we must remember you did your best, as every other mum did their best, and so did I when mine was small. And let me tell you, I did some yelling and some bossing around and, got them really understanding mummy's not happy. But as I've learned since 20 years since, there is another way, and it's a very gentle, calm, firm voice which children can learn from and respond to, and then learn that with their children. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and I can't wait to connect with you on our radio show coming up soon.
I love all your topics, Terri. I just have to say you're doing such a great job, and you make everybody feel special and really comfortable, and that's really so important when you're doing something like this. So thank you.
It's a pleasure. Woohoo! Well done.
Show where we have explored through this various topic, along with all the exciting new topics that we bring every week to enhance your personal mastery of excellence. Now, I'd love you to do me a favor. In fact, be part of the Legacy 1 million that I have in the vision for 2028. If you know someone who really would benefit from this recording, from this episode, please share it with them. And when you subscribe, you get notified every week of our episode as soon as it drops. So let's do that legacy thing. Let's share, let's care, let's enrich, and I look forward to bringing you another week of the most enriching content. So until next time, stay inspired, stay awesome, and keep on mastering your excellence.